I got a story.
Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all around good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we're going to be breaking down not one, but two episodes of The Bad Batch. We'll be discussing the episodes The Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences and sharing our thoughts on those. We also have some updates on Jedi Survivor and The Mandalorian Season 3, all that and much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me, it's my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, Hannah. Hello, everybody. I want to begin by just thanking everybody for their restraint. I have not seen anybody spend this week speculating about whether or not we'd see a Mandalorian trailer in the football game this weekend. And mainly, I think that's mainly thanks goes to Disney for doing that a couple of weeks earlier. Yeah. But I'm glad this is one annual tradition. I'm glad to skip the speculation of, is there going to be a Star Wars trailer in the Super Bowl? Because if you remember last year, it was especially ridiculous because we heard that Disney Plus, just the vague concept of Disney Plus, had bought some ad space, and people were like, it's going to be the Kenobi trailer is going to happen. Oh, yeah. And then it was this weird commercial with a bunch of goats dressed up as Disney characters. And it just wandering around, and there were a bunch of emojis on Twitter. If you tweeted a hashtag for like Luke Skywalker, there was a goat dressed like Luke Skywalker. It was like, what was the point of that? And we wonder why the company felt they needed a change in leadership if that was the sort of ideas they were coming up with. But anyways, I'm really looking forward to talking about these Bad Batch episodes. They were spectacular, and everything else we got coming up. It's going to be a great show.
This year, you get to watch the Puppy Bowl and root for the Corgis.
Yes. Ooh.
That sounds like a good change of pace.
It does. Much better idea.
What
Much better.
Of those words mean put together.
much better than football.
Tune in to find out. Also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, a whole lot. And I got some hot takes too. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh. It's Ben's hot take corner. It's hot takes in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's hot take corner. Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.
Oh, man.
Not everything has to have a theme song, for God's sake.
Yes, it does, Ben. Yes, it does.
See, we're just trying to get to the point where our entire show is a musical. That's the point. We've been trying to do this.
We're turning into Riverdale.
You know, sometimes we have to go backwards.
And I thought the latest episode of The Bad Batch was great. Well, I thought it sucked.
It was so great. It was so great. It was so great.
Oh, jeez.
Also joining us from down there on the Raeside, it's Hannah.
G'day there. Great to be back with some of the best Star Wars I have personally enjoyed in many, many years. Really love these episodes. Can't wait to get into them. I went full, teenage Clone Wars period Hannah watching these episodes. I love it so much. So, really keen to get into the discussion today.
Yeah. But before we do that, folks that listen to the show and watch the show, you remember a couple weeks back, we revealed Ben's alter ego in the Bad Batch. We had Ben Mega. Had some art revealing Ben as Omega. Well, we've got some more. Our friend of the show, Kajira Creations, has created another one of the Star Wars Underworld hosts as a Star Wars character. And this time, joining Ben Mega, we've got Yod Hannah. There we go. Apparently last week on the show, Hannah did an impression of Yoda, which none of us could remember. But Kajira Creations heard it and was like, this is art. This has to happen.
Happening.
And created a phenomenal new image of Hannah as Yoda, cuddling a little Chewbacca doll. It's pretty great.
They even got my little eyebrow slit going on that I do myself, and that details in there. It is so cool looking. I love it.
Yeah. What would Hannah? What would Yod Hannah say about this? Putting you on the spot here.
Wonderful. It is. The mind of Kajira. It is.
You got your sound bites for your next intro song.
That's we've just been waiting for that. You know, now we
it's
have
Hannah's impression corner. Impressions in the corner with Hannah.
Well, you know what? I do frequently do an impression of Borkus. Where's from? He's a Celestian. So
yeah,
cool-looking guy. So I'm glad it was a Yoda. That's a very cute species to do. So I'm glad it's not Borkus.
It could have been Mazguo.
Yeah, it could have been that.
Could have been him.
But no, this is definitely the cutest one. So I'm very, very happy. It looks I was just amazed. It was really funny actually when I saw it. I was at my parents' place and I showed my mum the photo. I said, "Oh, Mum, what do you think about, what do you think when you see this photo?" And she was going, "Oh, that's cool. That's very nice. That's really nice," and kind of super weird about it. Later found out she thought instantly it looked like me, but she didn't want to tell me to offend me.
My God.
She was like, "I didn't want to say it looks like you because I thought you would be offended." And I was like, it is me. That is the point of it.
I mean,
they loved it.
I can understand where your mom's coming from. I mean, you don't want to say to somebody, "Yeah, you look like a 900-year-old shriveled green creature." That's what you look like.
Those long ears look just like yours. Like, yeah, she's trying to be polite, but it just looks so good. I'm just so tickled by it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's phenomenal stuff. And again, we want to remind you to check out at Kajira Creations on social media. That's at KAJIRAKREATIONS on Twitter, Instagram, and other places. And check it out. And I think Kajira does commissions and stuff. So if you want to see yourself as a Star Wars character, perhaps that's one way to go about it. So check it out.
I've got to commission her for Mars Guo. I got to do that.
I'm trying to visualize the Hannah Mars Guo amalgamation in my head.
I feel like it'll be Mars Guo with bangs. I feel like that's what it will be.
That's about it.
With the hair down.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you as always to Kajira Creations. All right, plug some stuff. We got a show to do.
That's right. Join our Discord because we have a movie night coming up tomorrow. We're going to be watching a 2008 original Clone Wars movie together on Discord.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. That's where you also get the link to the pre-shows that we do. And we had a geography trivia challenge.
It was just basically Chris using all of the useless knowledge he has about other countries, just going like, "Hey, I know where that is. Yeah, I know what
That's all it was.
I know what."
And the rest of it just going like, "What's the name of that?"
Well, I cannot participate next week when we have Hannah and Dominic face off to name the U.S. states. So
I'm so confident with it. To be honest,
I'm confident I can get all the names. I have no idea about placement. Like that's what's going to throw me. That's what's going to throw me is where they are. If it was just name all 50 states, I'm pretty sure I could do that. In fact, I know I could do that. But
name them and spell them, starting with Mississippi.
MISSISSIPPI.
Nailed it!
Wow!
First try.
Let's go.
So that's a sneak peek on what you can find, what you can
the
pay
quality
for.
content you can tune in for.
Definitely.
I know that one because it's very similar to how you spell Mississauga, which is a suburb of Toronto.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So join our Discord. This is us saying, if you hate Twitter and hate social media and still want to like talk to Star Wars fans, but don't like Facebook and all that crap, Discord is the place to be. It's just all positive vibes and
Also,
geeking out about Star Wars over there and other things too.
We've been big shout out to our buddy and new Discord administrator Joel, who's been doing an amazing job. And also me and him have been working on it. We've been doing a lot of cosmetic stuff, and also there's not just Star Wars on there, guys. There's a DC and a Marvel chat. There's a Last of Us chat. So basically anything, and like literally we'll do anything. Like if you asked us to do something, we'll just put a new thread for it. So we even have a thread for suggestions. Okay, we are of the people.
If it's about Pedro Pascal guiding a child to safety, we will talk about it.
There you go.
So yeah, definitely check that out and join in on the fun over there. We also want to remind you about all the other great shows we have on the Star Wars Underworld Network, including the Raeside, Ion Cannon, and Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. And we want to remind everybody who's listening on your favorite podcast app to make sure that you are subscribed to what you're listening to and you review it if the app lets you leave a review. And if you're here over on YouTube, make sure you punch that subscribe button, Chewy, and we greatly appreciate any super chats and anybody who becomes a channel member over here on YouTube. And lastly, cultureslate.com store is where you can get my shirt where it says "We're doomed."
We're doomed.
The shirt. Check it out.
Yeah, positive thinking there. We're doomed.
But not inaccurate.
Yeah, it's true. I'll throw in one more plug. New Hoth Off the Press is out. 4,400 words on the Bad Batch season 2 prior to these episodes that just came out this week. So, which we could probably do with another
4,400. Sorry, I just realized how much that is.
That's a good one. I don't even know if I've ever gotten to that number before on an essay. I think 3,000 is my record.
Yeah, well, when I was
like a dissertation,
I feel like I should print it out and bring it to Celebration and give like hard copies out to people. Be like, here, read it with like a nice hardback, like a novel. It'd be great. So you can find that Dominic.
Yes,
G.
have you had a chance to talk about our Lord and Savior Omega?
Yeah. DominicGJones.substack.com. Read all 4,400 words of it, and then maybe we'll write 4,400 words just about these two episodes that we're talking about here. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about these Bad Batch episodes. Season 2, Episode 7, The Clone Conspiracy, written by Ezra Nachman and directed by Nathaniel Villanueva. And Season 2, Episode 8, Truth and Consequences, directed by Stuart Lee and written by Damani Johnson. We're going to Coruscant. We're reuniting with classic Clone Wars characters like Ryo Chuchi, Bail Organa, and Holly Bertoni, everybody's favorite episode. You know, that one. And we'll be just lots and lots to talk about. So we'll kick things off how we always do. Go around the table, give our initial impressions. And Ben, you know the drill. I'm going to throw it to you first. What did you think of these two episodes?
Well, don't say I didn't warn you about my hot takes. So I haven't been online much recently, but I get the impression that a lot of people really like these episodes.
Yes, I'm ready to fight, Ben. What are you about to say?
Oh God! While I admit these episodes, I need all the protection I can get. I think the old internet is going to be mad at me. As much as I admit these episodes had a lot of potential and could have been really good. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about them. Other than I couldn't be more disappointed in what we got. And clearly you're not buying this, so I'm just gonna say that I'm making this up. And yes, of course I love the episodes. Come on.
Oh my God.
I knew it was a troll. That was a troll.
I was ready to be like, I'm
how dare you try to pull the rug out from under me like that?
Oh my God.
I'm really bad at acting, okay? I'm really bad.
You tried.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm going to need to recover.
Hannah was about to jump on a plane and strangle me.
Yeah. Watch out. Where Mississippi? I don't know.
I will find you. I will kill you.
Wow.
All
God.
right. So
Anyway,
Ben like
Whoa.
Ben liked the episode. That's the point.
I gotta take a breather or something.
Well, in that
This
case,
where we
Chris,
cut?
Chris, give us your thoughts.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I'm going beforehand, or otherwise I'd be just like, that sounds like my thoughts. So now you get to do that this week. I'm sure yours will be more articulate, but yeah, the show confuses me. It's like this show seems to have this premise that it's more of a continuous show, more of a serialized show than the Clone Wars, and it's about the Bad Batch characters. But like this season has literally been like the Dark Times, the sequel to the Clone Wars. The way that they've bounced around with characters and tones and homages to different genres, and this show totally pulled the Clone Wars. It's like we had a few episodes that were like, I don't know how we feel about this. This is kind of odd, and then boom, the good stuff just happens. It just happens, and we get just this amazing, incredible, top of the line stuff. And so it's amazing to me how it kind of can do that. But yeah, for everything that I was frustrated with the last few weeks, it's the opposite. It's all the stuff that I want out of this show was this week. I mean, the plot was amazing. The writing was amazing. It had just all this gravitas. It had all this stuff that are so important to do with the big picture of the galaxy, but also like small little character moments too. And following more about with Rex, and one of the best developed characters of this era, continuing to develop him. Absolutely amazing. And Coruscant's my favorite planet, so going there was really freaking awesome, and I think they did the planet justice. It looked so full and busy, and not once did I be like, oh, they copied and pasted this or that, to save money. It just was immersive and absolutely amazing. It was suspenseful, and then like the ending was just like, oh my gosh, dang. So yeah, there's a lot going on in these episodes. I thought they were great. This is such a fascinating show. How it does this. Yeah. Oh my gosh, hot and cold. Did Katy Perry write the show? Katy Perry wrote the show. Now I
Oh man, yeah, lots of great stuff in the episodes. Just about Coruscant. When they were arriving on the planet and Omega's seeing Coruscant for the first time, there weren't many missed opportunities in this episode, but I feel there was one here. I was desperately waiting for one of the other members of the Bad Batch to channel Rick Olay from the Phantom Menace and say the whole planet is one big city, and
that would have been so good.
I was so waiting for it. And even when I rewatched the episodes again, I was like, this would have fit in perfectly here. You have Bail Organa literally, like, you had Bail Organa say, follow the money in this episode. You had Hunter say, you're making this up as you go a couple of weeks ago. Like, we're quoting other things. Just quote the Phantom Menace. Anyways, Hannah, have you had a chance to recover and recuperate from Ben's reveal? Ben's
I've unblocked Ben on Facebook, and we're back to being friends now.
All right, give us your thoughts on these episodes.
These two episodes gave me what I felt I missed in Andor and Kenobi. It is the greatest two episodes of the Bad Batch so far, and again, a continuation of the fantastic storytelling that was at the height of the Clone Wars. It's just I can't seem to fault it. Like I don't have anything to complain about with these episodes. I'm just so incredibly impressed with everything with these two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where I'm at too. Like, these episodes were just fantastic. There's not much to be critical of, and I think that's this good thing. Like, I got to the end of the episode, the second episode, after Echo leaves, and I was just sort of like, I just need to sit here. Like, I don't want to go and look and see what the reaction is to this. I don't want to run and do a reaction podcast or anything. Like, there's some weeks when I feel like I'd like to jump on right now and discuss this. But this is one where I was like, I just kind of want to sit here in this moment, because this feels like it was sort of a momentous pair of episodes in the galaxy. It's the end of the clone army for all intents and purposes. It's the continued breakup of the Bad Batch, which began last season with Crosshair leaving, and just sort of the building of a rebellion both within the Senate and beyond is all within the confines of this episode. So it's layered, it's deep, it's rich, and I do think it's made all the better for the episodes that we've had leading up to it and the time we've spent with these characters just going on adventures. I think that made the ending of the episode all the more impactful, but we'll get to that later. Let's start with kind of the fate of the clone army and what becomes of them. And Chris, I'll throw it to you. These are characters we followed, really, I mean, since 2002. So 21 years essentially with the clones and the clone army, and really we've gotten to know them since 2008 on this series. And there's always been that question of how does the Empire transition from the clones to the recruits to the stormtroopers, and we've been seeing that slowly happen here. And then in this episode we kind of see the final switch be flipped and it's all over for the clones. What did you think of how that played out over the course of these two episodes?
I was faked out by Lucasfilm on this one, because the whole lore was that Clone Troopers became firefighters. That was the whole lore.
Really?
Yeah. After they aged out of the army, they became firefighters. And it was all over all of the.
Where did this come from?
Where are all the fires? Were they sent?
Yeah,
Mustafar?
no, it was in I think it was in source books and stuff.
Wow. Okay.
During the prequels.
That's so funny.
So there was the very not nefarious, not ominous type of fate for the clones, and it's now kind of in this kind of new canon that they're kind of making it a much more big deal about what happened to them and how the Empire just wants to discard them at best and at worst blow them up. So that's pretty crazy. I think it's really I think the most fascinating thing to me about this whole situation is how the Kaminoans, they thought of so much. They thought of where the clones would come from and the DNA, and they thought about how to manipulate the DNA so that they would be the best warriors possible, and they thought about their training, and they thought about the ranking, and and then in conjunction with Palpatine how to control them, and all of this stuff. It's amazing to me that they never thought of what to do when they were done fighting. That there was no plan by anybody. The Republic had no plan. The Kaminoans had no plan. Palpatine had no plan. The Emperor had no plan. The Jedi had no plan. No one had any plan. It was this idea that, they're not droids. They're better than droids. But for all intents and purposes, everybody thought of them as droids. When they're done, let's just decommission them and go stick them somewhere. Go put them in a back room somewhere and let them stay there until characters in future shows come across them and we feel nostalgic for them. Battle droids. That it's just so, it blows my mind that there wasn't a plan like that. And then it's not even an oversight with the creators behind the scenes, because it's the clones, not only is there no plan for them of what's going to happen after done fighting or after they can't fight anymore, but they also are programmed to not be able to emotionally and mentally handle not being at war, which I will say is a twofold situation. One, they could have very well been programmed specifically to really not be able to even think about anything else. That is true, because why would you want to program that way, or you end up with everybody going cut LaQuaine? But on the second hand, too, the very real aspect of this is, even for people that aren't programmed to go to war, when they go to war, it's very hard to come back and get back to real life anyway, because it changes the way that you have to think, and it's hard to go back to thinking with a civilian mindset, which is really, a really real thing. So both of those combined, it makes sense that, so many of the clones are just we don't really want to stop fighting. Like, we don't care. We don't want to retire. We don't want to, go to a beach somewhere and hang out with Cassie and Andor. Like, we don't want to. We want to keep fighting because that's all we know. So yeah, I think that's really interesting, but I think it's very realistic. So I think it's good that they put that in there, and it makes for just a really interesting writing challenge on how to do this, because there's obviously still hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of clones out there. And it's like, well, how are you going to deal with all these people that, the Empire wants them to stop fighting because they feel like they can't control them as well as stormtroopers, yet they don't even want to stop fighting themselves. That's fascinating.
Yeah. And then there's another wrinkle thrown into it with the sort of mind-controlled trooper that we can get to in a little bit. But yeah. I think it just goes to show, Chris, like how little the people in charge really did care about the clones. I think to the Kaminoans, they don't have a plan for them because to them they are just an asset. And it's like, oh, you don't need them anymore? All right, kill them. Get them. Gone. Get out of here. For Palpatine, for the Empire, he doesn't care one way or the other what goes on with them. And the Jedi, this just again speaks to the mindset the Jedi were in the prequels, that they weren't asking these questions. They weren't thinking about this. Somebody shows up at your doorstep and says, hey, 10 years ago, your buddy ordered a giant army for you. Here they are. And they're just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. All right, let's go to Geonosis and start a war. And they didn't stop to think about this. And yeah, the Jedi generally viewed the clones with with more humanity than most people did. But I think they were pushing off that question of what do we do with the clones after the war until after the war. And of course, we know how that went. Hannah, what did you think of how they sort of concluded the political story of the clone army?
Oh, it's just so brilliant. And I love how it wasn't just, one day Palpatine was like, oh, better wrap him up, and like, it was just kind of, he just made the decision and it all happened. Like, I love the way it was kind of this, they were waiting for this position of everything to happen. And then obviously, Chuchi kind of getting involved and trying to further it. And then, I think when we get to the end where Palpatine reveals himself and he comes into the conversation, which I'm sure we'll get into deeper later, but when he came into the conversation and flips it all to be like, yeah, we got to, if we got to get rid of these clones, because if they're on board with doing bad things, we got to get rid of them. Like, it was so perfectly manipulative to get everyone on board that we shouldn't have clones anymore. And I just, it was just so well thought out. Like, it wasn't straightforward. It was this very twisted situation that happened, and very sad for the clones. And I think that's good storytelling, because we, like you said, we've had over a decade of getting to know these characters, and then to have this kind of atrocity, social justice atrocity happen to them is, like, for the audience, so impactful, because we just go, that's so wrong. Like, they need rights, all those kinds of things. We kind of have that subconscious already. And to see that, see how poorly they're treated, and, and then the galaxy just turns their back on them, is such a sad journey for them, and such a sad part of the story, but also kind of good. It's a good storytelling, but it's sad. You know what I mean? Yeah. But very well done how this happened.
Yeah, good stories are tragic stories often. And I will just point this out, and this probably won't be my last plug, but I wrote about this in my Substack. In Obi-Wan Kenobi, we see a clone trooper. We see that one trooper that's begging for money for a warm meal. And if you look back at season 1 of the Clone Wars, there's a scene, I believe, on Pantora of all places, where people are cheering for the clones. There's a parade happening. People are like, yes, the war is over. Huzzah, hooray. Peace in our time. And then 10 years later in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the clones have nothing. They're begging for scraps. They're begging for whatever they can get. And this episode shows how that happens. And that's sort of the tragedy of the Bad Batch, is that for whatever good that they can do, they're going to be undermined. It's going to take 20 years. It's going to take 19, 20, 25 years to actually overthrow this empire. It's not going to happen overnight. Again, we see in these episodes how Palpatine can just outfox everybody by taking what should have been a feature of the clones and what was a feature for him in the clones and saying, no, this is a bug. This is a problem. Get him out of here. Ben, what do you think? What you haven't weighed in on this yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And the fact is, this goes back to kind of my overarching, if I had to bring a criticism to the table of this season so far, which I've pretty much enjoyed thus far for the most part. If I had to bring a criticism to the table, I would say that, like, okay, what is this show trying to do? What is this show trying to accomplish? What thing? It's not necessarily a rhetorical question, a genuine, okay, what we doing here? Past few episodes have been kind of all over the place, giving us different stories, which have been great. But no real significant kind of, why am I blanking on this thing? Anyway,
through line,
just kind of
arc. Yeah, I was gonna say through line, like journey.
Over line in the sand. I was thinking something. My flag in the sand, but my brain just locked up. Embarrassing. Anyway,
the waves washed over your line in the sand.
This episode answers that. This episode plants the flag and says, "Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, this is story." And the fact is that the whole idea of what happened to the clones after the Clone Wars, and a question that got asked many times during the course of the Clone Wars series, now we're finally getting that answer. And I love that the show is telling this story, the plight of the clones, the idea of what happens to these soldiers when there's no war to fight. And I love the whole, the scene in the bar where they're like, we just want to continue fighting. We're just going to, and Chuchi's like, no, you can't fight forever. You have to figure out what you want to do with your lives. And like you said, they've been programmed to fight. And there's real world examples, just of what Chris was saying earlier in regards to like real people that go to war and they come back and they don't know what to do with themselves. And they're like, I'm good at something. I was good at something in the military. I was good at this thing. Now I come back and I don't have any marketable skills. No one will hire me. That's why so many real people in the real world, servicemen, end up homeless and, with nothing, and are honestly mistreated by our own government and many governments. And this is, I think, as weird as it is, this little kids animated show, this little Star Wars cartoon is having some pretty heavy social commentary and something to say about the real world nowadays. And I love it. And overall, the fact that we're getting the story and the fact that this all starts with a question and ends with another part of Palpatine's empire coming into place. The idea that this ends with the establishment of the stormtroopers, and the fact that our heroes do everything right and still end up playing right into Palpatine's hand. I think that's the ultimate thing with like Palpatine. It's just like he always manages, he always manages to work things in his favor. Even when he's not getting what he wants, he still get what he wants. So it's powerful stuff. And this is some of the, I'll just say it right now, some of the best animated Star Wars we've ever gotten. Some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in a while. We got some really great Star Wars lately. Really great Star Wars. I ain't knocking anything we've gotten recently, but this is some good stuff.
Yeah. At the end of the Umbara arc, I think Fives is the one that says to Rex, someday this war is going to end. Then what happens to us? And so that this thought has been there for some of the clones. And now that they are officially out, they're not going to be taken care of. They aren't getting anything from the Empire. They're just being left behind and forgotten. That scene in the bar, in the clone bar, where the one trooper just says, I want to be a trooper. I want to fight. and you have Rex and Echo going around gathering, getting groups of clones together. Commander Cody's out there somewhere. We've been saying for a long time that, that seems like this show is building up to some sort of, clone rebellion. It does feel like this episode is pushing us more and more in that direction. And now now it's just it feels like it's just a matter of time until that happens. And somebody brought up in the chat, we know where Rex's story winds up. It winds up with him and Wolf and Gregor fishing on that planet with their wacky AT-TE. And what gets them to that point? What gets them from this, willing to risk it all for something real mentality that they've got here to being just completely retired, giving up on the fight until Ahsoka comes knocking via Kanan and Ezra and Sabine. And a loss in some kind of major loss in a rebellion like that would, I think, maybe cause some clones to say, all right, the ones that are left to go, all right, we're done, we're out, there's nothing more we can do, we've lost. It's basically take the mentality that Obi-Wan has at the beginning of Obi-Wan Kenobi and say, we've lost, go home, lay low, stay out of people's way.
Yeah.
And sort of again, the story of the clones is tragedy. The story of the clones is tragedy. And this episode adds another phenomenal layer to that. And this has been brought up already, but we always said the tragedy of Order 66 is that we watched the clones for 7 seasons gain all sorts of agency as people, only to have, that switch be flipped so that they lost all that agency. And then it's that switch being flipped, that
flipping switch
that gets them, that loses everything for them. It's tragic. It's horrifying.
Almost, it's genuinely, I know it's fictional, it's not real, but it's genuinely infuriating to watch this and know that the clones really did help Palpatine. They were a tool. They helped him get what he wanted, and he betrays them. He stabs them in the back in this episode. Can't even do the bare minimum to help them out. Post-war, and casts that his line, that devilish line about this whole thing gives me pause. I'm like, you son of a, come on, man.
You son of a biff.
You know what? Almost.
Yeah, close.
He's the grandparent of a Biff. No, grandson of a Biff.
It's tragic. Let's talk a little bit about Palpatine, the Emperor Palpatine, the politician, because we've seen Chancellor Palpatine, the politician, and we've seen Emperor Palpatine, the Sith Lord, but this is the first time we get to see Palpatine as Emperor actually interacting with the Senate. Hannah, I'll throw this one to you. What did you think of that scene at the end when he finally makes his appearance?
I really love this inclusion of how he acted in this instance, because then I think we can infer from his involvement here how he got to power, how he was so likable, and then how he continued to be in power. Because if you look at him, you're like, he's like a shriveled old man in a black cloak. Like, he does not look happy, kind, welcoming, he doesn't look great to be leader at all. But the way he uses his language and how he poses perspective is so just so brilliant, so brilliant. So I think this was such a fantastic way he was involved to show how he stayed in power, how people were like, he sounds like he's got it under control. If I'm just a, very kind of neutral world, just trying to go by the book of the rest of, every other planet, and, and Palpatine's being like, oh, this terrible thing happened, let's make sure that doesn't happen. That's essentially what he's saying. And you go, okay, that's good. Thank goodness that, someone has got it under control. I feel like this really showed that, and how many planets was just like, Palpatine's got it under control. And it wasn't until years later, when everything was under control, that everyone's like, actually, this control is terrible for everyone. But yeah, and I think I was also on this just Palpatine arriving here. I was a little not concerned because I've got great faith of the people that write this show, but just he's such a big character. He is such a big character, and what he says and what he does is so important in the whole scheme of this saga. And it, like that's a lot of weight to carry into writing how a character is involved in something. And I just think they have done it so perfectly, like with the timing of this is the episodes he's coming in, this is like what storyline he's coming into, and this is what he's gonna say, and this is how he says things. Like it was just so well done, and just couldn't have put him in a better place. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. The most dangerous thing about Palpatine and the scariest thing about Palpatine has always been his political acumen. You know, that's what makes him such an effective villain. It's not his lightning hands. It's not a fleet of 10,000 Star Destroyers in the sky. It's not even one planet killer. It's his ability to make people think that what he's doing is the right way to do things, even if it's against what's in their best interests. And that's what he does in this episode. That's what he did in Attack of the Clones. That's when he's at his scariest.
And that's why I've always pushed back about, like, people have floated the idea, maybe they're right, about, Dooku says that Palpatine, Sidious had control of the Senate, had influence over the Senate, and they're like, oh, he's using the dark side. I'm like, no, he's just that good. He doesn't need the dark side to win the Senate's favor and to do all this stuff. He's just that good.
Yeah, my most hated fan theory. This is the one I hate the most. I hate it with a rage that would make Palpatine proud. Is that in Revenge of the Sith when he says, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire, and everybody cheers and he raises his hands in the air. And Padme has her line, this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. And people are like, he's doing a Jedi mind trick or a Sith mind trick when he raises his hands in the air. He's influencing the minds of the senators. It's like, no, he's influenced the minds of the senators for years.
You will cheer for me.
Yeah, he's Jeb Bush with the dark side. Please clap.
Please clap.
Please clap. Back 2016. But yeah, no, he's been influencing them for years with his rhetoric, not the dark side, and he's made them think independently that he's right through his control of language and his ability to control the situation.
I love how much continuity Star Wars has. I mean, one of the reasons, despite the mess that is the books versus the films and like all that stuff, despite that, Star Wars still has continuity beyond any other franchise because of the fact that they're taking just a few lines out of A New Hope, and they're expanding those lines outwards much more than the characterizations of the characters in The New Hope, which very few franchises will do. So that line about how, the Imperial Senate still exists and it is in its twilight and it's just finally being dissolved at the beginning of The New Hope, so it's so important because we go through all of the original trilogy with this kind of warlike mindset where it's like, it's about who's more powerful. It's about who has the biggest army, who has the biggest weapons, who can use the Force the best. Those are kind of like the weapons. There's less political weapons happening, and that is then extended sadly into the sequel trilogy, which I disagree with. I don't think it should have been done that way. But taking that line that it was only from that moment when the Death Star was made and blew up Alderaan, and when Tarkin and the other governors took control of the galaxy from the Senate and from the people who were in charge of each planet originally, until that moment, it was all politics. The Senate was still important, and politics was still important, and Palpatine was just as much as important a political leader as a military leader. And so I love how this show is continuing to show the political side of things, because that I even wish they had done that a little bit more in Rebels. They had kind of the thing with Mothma, and there wasn't as much Senate stuff in there, but it still would have been really relevant, even then, several years prior to A New Hope. So yeah, I absolutely I love it. I think it's awesome that they're continuing to show this side of things.
Yeah. Well, and what was really interesting, I think, in this episode is that we're still close enough to the Republic. We're still early enough into the Empire that people think that the Senate has real impact. It can have real power. Bail and Chuchi and everybody, they're trying to continue acting as though the Senate can really influence the galaxy. Whereas by the time we get later on into the timeline, by the time we get to Andor, and when we see Mon Mothma giving her speech in Andor in the Senate, that to me felt like she was just giving that speech and nobody was listening. She was giving that speech. It was purely but by that point, everybody was aware that the Senate was sort of a joke. For whatever reason,
like the Senate chamber was empty. Like we see it full in this episodes, but like in Andor, it's empty, and even Bail Organa is not around, as if like those guys have just given up on it. They're just like, why even show up? Palpatine won't even show up for these things. Why should we?
Yeah. Well, and that's what makes his entrance here so powerful, is again, he's still letting them think at this moment. He's still letting them think, okay, they can influence decisions, and I'll show up here, and the votes on these bills are important, when really he's just going to do whatever he wants. But he's letting them think that because he knows that a successful rebellion does have its roots in the Senate, with Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and on like that. And so I think that's why he makes such a show of his entrance in this episode, which again, as we talked about, great entrance, very reminiscent of a scene in House of the Dragon when King Viserys makes an entrance, sort of unexpected entrance, although it's reminiscent but plays very, very differently. It's a more of a heroic thing on the other show, whereas this scene, bad things are coming when Palpatine enters. But the scene plays out in a similar way. Let's talk a bit about Chuchi. This is our kind of the main senator character.
Chuchi
of this arc.
Chuchi.
Hannah, I'll throw it right to you because you seem excited. What did you think of Ryo Chuchi'S return and her role in these episodes?
Yeah, my impulsive thoughts just overcame me just then. I just damn yeah, woo! I was so thrilled to see her. Yes, I feel like I don't have to say it, but yeah, just all the fantastic nostalgia that came of, such a great Clone Wars character, all the way, and someone not even recent, like a season 1 Clone Wars character. She does show up later, season 3 perhaps, with Ahsoka. But yeah, just such an early on Star Wars Clone Wars character to come up is just awesome. But then it's not just a random cameo. I like it when we have fantastic cameos in Star Wars. But I really, really like it when they make sense and when it's purposeful. And this made so much sense. She did have a very good connection with the Jedi. She had very good relations with the clones. She was very kind of progressive in her thinking. And that first episode where she shows up in season 1, episode 14, Trespass, 14, 15. Yeah. And of course, we have the chairman of Pantora, who's just on something. That guy is off the charts. He's off the charts.
The only person in the galaxy more evil than Palpatine.
Damn!
He was out.
That guy's pretty evil.
What
his treatment of the towels was not cool.
It was not.
Oh, so intense. And
I think he was secretly a Trandoshan.
These towels are snow Wookiees. I hate them because they're snow Wookiees.
I hate fur.
Okay.
I'm sorry to derail you.
I love this. But yeah, I think I feel like his character was kind of created, in my opinion, to kind of really contrast with Chuchi and her beliefs and morals, and how she was really a better leader. So yeah, great character, and she was very compassionate, very similar to a Padme. I found, she's very into the democracy, into the everyone having rights. Everyone has, very big into social justice. So she fit right into this whole. There's a massive injustice with the clones, so she fitted in really well to the story. It's just so brilliant. It was not a forced cameo. It felt like, yeah, that's what Chuchi's doing right now. It was so natural, but fantastic.
All of those scenes with her and Bale, there's sort of a bittersweetness to him of this could have been Padme,
right?
This is what Padme would be doing in this scenario. Ben, what did you think of Chuchi's role in all this?
I mean, I will preface this by saying that I was spoiled on this a few weeks back, because StarWars.com of all places, they posted. They posted the screen cap.
I did know.
There's the last shot. One of the last shots in the episode. It's Rex and the Batch and Chuchi, and they actually didn't identify her. But like I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's definitely Chuchi. Of course, I mean, I was warned. Come on, I went to Reddit. There was like spoiler warnings, and I'm like, I want to see it. I saw it. And so I saw it, and so I knew this was coming. But like, just the fact that it is Chuchi, it could have been anyone. Like, you could have put really anyone into this role. You could have put a new senator, a new character in the thing. You could have put, and she's very hot commodity right now. Mon Mothma, I think, would have also filled that role pretty well.
I like how there was a minuscule pause you had there, and I thought that was the end of the sentence. She's really hot.
I mean,
really hot.
Also works. You could just stop it right there.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. Continue.
Anyway, but the fact that it's Chuchi.
Of the bantha necessary.
Wait, what?
The bantha call.
Sound you made.
I'm not gonna argue with it.
Bantha call summons Mon Mothma. That's we all
the fact that this is Chuchi. The fact that we have Chuchi, she's back. This is the first time in 10 years she's been on screen. Is crazy. And she's the perfect character because I think you go back to that original episode, Trespass, which I think is extremely underrated episode. One of my favorites from season 1.
Same.
And one that, I love her interactions with Obi-Wan and the Tals and the chairman. Like, she's so idealistic. She also knows the clones. I love there's a shot that's where she's kind of walking up at the end and she's looking down at dead clones on the ground. And she's kind of feeling the weight of her responsibility of trying to end this war and do that. And she does it brilliantly. She goes on and has this relationship with Ahsoka, who's somewhere out there, and Padme, who is not. And it's very sad to see her in this scenario, but also see her, she's still got that fire in her that is with this movement and trying to take up the cause for the clones. I'll also say I was absolutely terrified for her the entire time because I'm like, we don't know her fate after this. Everyone keeps dying. Everyone keeps getting shot in the back. Oh my God. So yeah, I was really scared about that. I'm glad that she's still with us and that it's just brilliant. It's just a brilliant things. And this is exactly what I wanted in regards to a sequel to the Clone Wars, bringing back this, semi-obscure character, but it's extremely important. As Hannah said, makes sense.
Yeah, I do love how the Bad Batch has kind of become, the landing ground for Clone Wars characters that had like one or two appearances but made a real big impact, like starting last season with Cut LaQuaine, and now this season we've had Gunji, we've had Chuchi, and again, everyone's favorite senator, Halle Bertoni, returning in these episodes.
There you go.
Classic character.
I just want to know where Baron Papanoida
Bart is a mere cog in the machine.
Where's Baron? Where's
there's the next artwork.
Oh no!
Tony with bangs.
Yeah. Where is Baron Papanoida? That is the important question.
Where's the GL?
There is he. Where's
Blue GL? Where you at?
Yeah. Bring him back.
Is that the kid? Is that the guy?
No, Baron Papanoida is the George Lucas.
No, but who are you saying then? Were you saying someone else's name? Am I dreaming?
I think you're hallucinating.
Don't mind. Wasn't there there was another
There's his
Pandoran.
son.
There's
He has a bunch
like
of
a son.
kids.
Yeah, there's a kid.
Yeah,
He's
he does
that
have
guy
kids.
should have showed up. Anyway,
He's voiced by Seth Green, I think. Forgot.
It is. Yes. Bring back the whole Papanoida fam. Bring them all back for more action, more fun.
wait, Seth Green. Oh yeah, Seth Green. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
Classic Star Wars character.
Bring him back.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of fun that these characters that dropped in for one appearance that were, I think George was never very precious with a lot of his characters. And a lot of these characters that were created for these episodes, I think he saw them as, well, they served their purpose and now they're off to the side. And yet they made an impact and they stuck around. And a character who fits that bill actually is Echo. I mean, this guy's went from sort of a one-off clone to one of the stars of this show. And I think the people that are working on the Bad Batch who loved Clone Wars, and a lot of them who worked on Clone Wars, are seeing this as their opportunity to go, ooh, Chuchi, haven't seen her in a while, bring her back. Ooh, Gunji, whatever happened to him, bring him back. Cut LaQuaine, let's see what's going on. So
Zillow Beast,
the
one we actually want.
I thought we were gonna see that last season. I thought that was gonna be in Camino. Let's talk about poor old Admiral Rampart. Poor old Admiral Rampart. Well, it was just following orders, so it was fine. I will say, about halfway through the first episode, I'm like, Rampart's going to be the scapegoat, isn't he? And there he was at the end of the episode. Chris, what did you think of the way the good bad Vice Admiral met his fate?
How is it that like Krennic and like all the other people that got screwed over by either Vader or the Emperor or Tarkin, like how is it that they all didn't see what happened to Rampart and be like, maybe this isn't a good idea to rise through the ranks and be ambitious inside this organization? like oh, he screwed up, I'll never do that. Yeah, and then they did. So I think it's very interesting how this, so many people must have kind of known about this. So it's interesting that, very clearly the Emperor scapegoated his own guy, and yet everybody still kind of supports the Empire internally after that. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. But yeah, I think it's interesting because this episode was very much about, I thought it was interesting how the members of the Bad Batch and Chuchi and the clones and everybody were thinking that, oh, if we just thwart Rampart, if we expose Rampart and expose the Emperor or the Empire and the military side, then the civilian political side could right the ship. We just got to give them the truth. Like, I thought it was interesting how, they thought that this victory would suffice to do, what they wanted, and get justice for Camino, and then also get some funding for taking care of the clones. I thought it was interesting that they thought that would happen. And then, but I was very satisfied with the episode because in the end they do defeat Rampart. They do get rid of him, but the problem is, as they realize after the fact, he's not really the problem. There's some bigger guys behind him that are you got to take care of them, because Rampart's
just a cog in the machine.
Yeah, Rampart's just a cog in the machine. He's just another head of the Hydra, essentially, and so, but it was satisfying to see him get his due for what he's been doing, because we've been watching him lie and manipulate people for a while, and so it was good to see him get the Krennic treatment, get the Death Star laser to his brain,
get his comeuppance. It's what was I gonna say? I don't know. Ben, you looked like you had something to say here. Take over for me, because I've forgotten what I was going to say.
I have many. You can feel free to pass to me anytime. I have so many thoughts bouncing around my head. It's not even funny. Back to what Chris was saying a minute ago. I like the idea of like
That's definitely
Look, don't
one of them.
distract me with that, okay? Don't. Don't look at my internet history, search history. Never mind. I'm not gonna go anywhere.
Call the incognito bed. It was invented 10 years ago.
I know.
Right when the Clone Wars came out.
That's right. That is how I watched the Clone Wars. So y'all didn't know how I watched the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we derailed.
What's going on?
Anywho, so Chris had a good point about like why would people work with the Empire? Like why would people do this? And you know, I like the idea of like this is anybody that works in the Empire knows they're playing with fire. They know that it's a gamble. I think really it's on what you could say it's almost like a drug. Like it's like this thing of I can have this immense power, can be part of something where I can get wealth and power and have power over other people that are weaker than I am. And, you know, it's going to be great. But if I step out of line and if I piss this one guy off, or if you're in the Imperial Security Bureau, you just piss off the person next to you, you could be in serious trouble. I like that idea of like, yeah, people will see what happens to Rampart and they're like, okay, you sucker. He got what was coming to him. He made a mistake and he's going to pay for it. So I like that idea, but I just love that we got this. Like, yes, I was cheering on like the entire time, especially when he was getting roasted by Chuchi and Masameda was giving him a hard time about all this. Like, I'm like, yes, Rampart. Yeah, you suck. You stupid jerk. Got what you coming to you. But I wonder if this is the end of Rampart. I really do. Because I always assumed that Rampart was with us for the long haul. It felt like he was kind of set up as the main antagonist for the show. And this is the last we see of him. That's great. We'll get more villains down the road. It'll diversify the story. It's just really interesting. I didn't expect this, so I'm really glad. But what if it isn't? What if, you know, we already know that the Empire doesn't play by the rules and this is just all a big show? Palpatine could easily put Rampart back into the system no one would ever know. Or what if Rampart does wind up in prison? And what if Rampart does thinking about the fact that he got betrayed by the Empire? And how does he feel about that? And I don't know. You know, could we be looking at down the road a secret rebel Rampart, someone who is maybe works against the Empire, realizing just out of spite, not out of a hate of the Empire, just spite.
I want Rampart at some point down the line just to go, I'm the spy, a la General Hux in The Rise of Skywalker.
I don't need the Bad Batch to win. I need Palpatine to lose.
Exactly. No, I think Admiral Rampart's done. I think you know, with Palpatine, once you've served your purpose, you're done. You're out. And it's the same thing as what's gone on with the clones is, you know, Palpatine uses people for as long as they're useful to him. And as soon as they stop being useful to him, he gets rid of them. He disposes of them. It's what he tried to do with Darth Vader of all people. And so I think Rampart is toast. And, you know, I always thought that, you know, Tarkin was the guy who was like in charge of everything. He was in control of everything, but we're slowly learning that Tarkin is just kind of the guy who starts stuff, lets somebody else come in and run it, and then swoops in and takes all the credit at the end. So I feel like we're going to see the return of Grand Moff Tarkin in here sometime relatively soon to kind of, you know, reclaim some of this control of this part of the Empire.
The Stormtrooper program belongs to him.
Yeah.
Another theory I have for Rampart, that is just completely flown out of my head. What I was about to say.
Hate it when that happens.
Crap. Oh, it was so good.
Love that going around.
It was such a good take.
Yeah.
You were gonna say that he's
Rampart
gonna show up again with a mustache,
might show up.
and it's gonna be Brampart.
Anyway, I remember what I was going to say. I think I could see them throwing him in a cell with I forget where Crosshair is, or even Cody. I reckon they say Cody's gone AWOL, but he's not actually gone AWOL. I think they've imprisoned him or something. Rampart will get thrown in prison with another clone or something, where he has to have like a very like, just they're in the same cell. They have to have a conversation about it. And I think it'll come out somewhere that like Rampart's like whole family was like killed by clones or something. And then that's why his desire was to rise the ranks and like join the Empire now and then get rid of clones. And like that's like, yes, it was Palpatine's plan to like, get rid of Kamino, but Rampart was like, he was enthusiastic about that idea. I think there's going to be maybe a little bit of back storytelling to maybe there's more depth to Rampart about where he's coming from and why he's here. And he's got a bad history with clones or something. Similar to like a Trace and Rafa. The Jedi.
It could happen. Did love the cameo of Trace and Rafa's garage.
Oh my god, yes. Such a great inclusion there.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Again, Rex is building up his network of people that know Ahsoka. With Trace and Rafa last season, you added Chuchi this season. It's only a matter of time. Let's talk about Omega in this episode, because we pick up in the back half of the two-parter, the second half, because the Bad Batch not in the first episode at all. The only time the Bad Batch are in the first episode is when the title card appears on the screen that says the Bad Batch. That's the closest we actually get to the Bad Batch.
I still don't know why the show isn't called The Dark Times. I still don't know why. That would have made more sense.
Maybe, but the
parents, The Dark Times.
That stupid trailer. What was the point of that? But in the back half, it is very much a Bad Batch episode, and we follow Omega, and we see her with Chuchi for the majority of the episode. And there's a very interesting moment when the two of them confront Halle Bertoni, where Omega talks about Kamino and talks about how what happened there makes her angry. Ben, I'll throw this to you. What did you make of that moment?
Yeah, like all the interaction. First of all, I was like, does Rampart know Omega? So I was like freaking out during a scene. I'm like, oh, is he kind of things? But like, and then I was just like enjoying Omega just staring daggers into Rampart the entire time. Like, and like the fact is, it's like he freaking blew up her home. Like, and this is very personal to her. And I love the whole thing. I love all the Omega scenes of her, just exploring the Senate. And I love the fact that she can walk into the Senate building and, Chuchi's like, oh, I'm a senator. And she's like, what's a senator? And Omega is like literally one of the few characters that can say that and not sound stupid. Like, because so many and you have shows that may be targeted towards a younger audience. You have characters that are meant to say things and ask questions and to explain things, and that's great. But Omega makes sense because she's literally so sheltered. She's never been around. She just experienced dirt a few months ago for the first time ever. Of course, she doesn't know what a senator is. So I love that she's getting to experience all this, getting to see the Galactic Senate. And she's like, what is all this? Like, this is a whole new world for her. And I love it. And her interactions with Chuchi was just great. And her just, laying into Rampart was great. And yeah, just really, again, great character moments for Omega.
Yeah. The moment when the Senate is sort of revealed to her, I love that there's the music kind of had like there was a majesty to it, but also a darkness to it. Like it's like this isn't what it used to be. It's just it's a symbol of what was rather than what is.
It's no longer greedy, squabbling delegates.
Classic. Hannah, what about you? What did you think of Omega and her little her adventure through this episode?
Yeah, I think they placed her really well. I'm glad it kind of went the way it split the way it did, where like we got the cool kind of Bad Batch trying to get the important thing, like that was split up, and then she was with Chuchi. I think that was I enjoyed that split, that difference, and yeah, like what I was saying, it was just such a beautiful, eye-opening experience for her. And I think it was also interesting for Chuchi to kind of reflect on maybe her loss of innocence as well. This is going, I'm really reading into this, but even her loss of innocence.
Go for it. Do it.
Yeah. You know, I think similar to a Padme of having to be a senator within politics so young and still like getting into it young and then having to be a politician through the war. Like how difficult that is and how that's not normal. That shouldn't be how it is. And yeah, her conversation with Halle Bertoni was just really interesting. And actually, twice in this episode, when Halle Bertoni came into the picture, I was like, surely Halle Bertoni like knows Omega, and she didn't.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
And then when they ran into bloody Rampart, I was like, surely Rampart knows Omega. I was like, wasn't that an episode where like Rampart was trying to get Omega? I was like, I don't know. I blanked. I thought definitely these characters know Omega, but they didn't. So that's fine.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe that's a bit for Rampart. At least you could sort of hand wave it away as sort of he doesn't acknowledge her. He doesn't think of her as any sort of threat. So he doesn't remember her. He doesn't look at her as anything that's memorable. But yeah, I would have thought Halle Bertoni would have her extremely long Kaminoan finger on the pulse of what was going on back home and would have known, hey, there's these enhanced clones running around.
Halle Bertoni.
Bertoni, obviously, she strikes me as the person who, like, you know, she just cares about herself and decadence. So it's like, you know, she's not gonna ever go home. She's just gonna hang on a Coruscant and not care about Kamino.
Yeah, she becomes a senator so that she can host like dinner parties and be like, and now we have Senator Bertoni. Like she doesn't want to actually do the business of senating.
She's hanging out with Mon
was a
Mothma's
harmless bug. I wouldn't bother killing him. I love that quote.
I'm sure she's hanging out with Mon Mothma's husband.
Yeah, probably.
Oh my
The
God,
two of them would get along like a
Squeaks.
house on fire. Yeah.
Oh, that's very poignant.
I don't think I used that expression right.
Yeah.
No,
like a house on fire.
like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, that. But yeah, you know, she's just sort of in it for herself. She's out for number one. She doesn't really care about the rest of Kamino or the rest of the galaxy for that matter. I want to say just on the animation side of things, I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is just a function of them being on Coruscant, but Omega felt smaller than she usually does. She felt a little bit more kind of, you know, like she felt more like a kid in that situation. But also I feel like the Omega animation model or the rig or whatever the technical term is, I feel like it's the most expressive that they've created for Star Wars animation. Like the little looks that she will give in a moment. It's really, really incredible. And I loved hearing her talk about being angry and being angry about what happened. And, you know, actually, you know, Omega is kind of, we see her as just sort of the fun of the group. She's the kid. She's on the run. She's on the adventure. She's having a good time with her laser bow and all that stuff. But to actually hear, you know, that she feels that she has a real stake in this now, you know, she feels that there's been an injustice and now she wants to right that. She wants justice for it, and she is angry about it. And I saw some. I try and avoid reading too much commentary before we do these because I don't want to spend the whole time arguing with Twitter. But I saw where someone was like, "What if that's Omega going to the dark side?" I'm like, nah. This is like a healthy anger. This is something bad that happened, and people are right to be angry about it. And now it's just, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Do you let it become hate and you start hating Rampart, or do you turn it into, you know, something positive? That's the hope. That's the idea, at least. So I liked hearing that, and I liked that she was still trying the meditation. That she was still trying.
I was about to mention that
Gunji's meditation at the beginning of the episode, which kind of I felt like threw a little bit of a wet blanket on the Omega being force sensitive thing that came roaring back last week. But she's like, oh, it doesn't work for me the way it works for him. But she still likes it.
But
or it could. I mean, she needs more training, maybe.
Yeah. I think she is. She just will never be a Jedi. I think she'll just become to this like spiritual being. In my opinion.
I like that. I think that's good. I think that's cool. Let's talk about Echo. Echo.
Oh,
leaves at the end of the episode. Chris, I'll throw it to you. What'd you think of Echo's decision in these in the final moments of the episode?
Well, it's interesting because this is one of the things we've been talking about leading up to these episodes is, you know, how Echo's kind of pushing the group to be more involved in the rebellion, and what that would mean for the Bad Batch, and if they would start doing things more directly for the rebellion because of Echo's influence on them. So I think the fact that they're splitting up, that suggests to me that the Bad Batch is not going to be involved with the rebellion, because that was the one big thing pushing them in that direction. So now that he's going off to do rebellion stuff with Rex, that means the Bad Batch is probably going to be having some more pirate stuff to do, which I don't know how I feel about that, but that's what it sounds like.
I think they get there eventually, but I think it's Omega that will push them there, because I think Omega's I think the combination of her talking about her anger earlier in the episode and her final scene with Echo, I do feel like she sees what he's talking about. She's just not ready to make that leap for herself. I think, the Bad Batch don't live a particularly comfortable life, but I think they are comfortable in it. And something's got to happen to shake up their comfort to get them to join the rebellion. Echo's been grappling with this for quite some time now, basically since he reconnected with Rex, and he's been wanting to do it more and more. And so, there's that scene aboard Rampart's Venator where, Rex is talking about how he has to do all this for the clones and how he needs help. And Echo just kind of looks away like, God, I should be doing this, but I'm not. And like in that moment, that should have been the clear giveaway that, all right, this guy is done for now. He's leaving the group. And again, I think there's been some setup in the previous episodes that suggest that the Bad Batch is going to have their world turned pretty substantially upside down in the back half of this season leading up to the finale. And I do suspect that they will be joining, if not the rebel alliance of Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, some sort of active clone resistance movement by the time this season is done. But
I think the whole thing around splitting them up is just to make it more impactful when they come back together, honestly. And it'll not just be about Crosshair. It will be about all of them. And I think maybe they will have to come back together. It may not be this season. I don't know. But I think there's definitely, or I don't know. Maybe
It's
something.
either going to be in
I don't want to think about it.
It's either going to be in season 6 or the Bad Batch movie. One of those.
I love it. With Echo leaving, I feel not leaving, joining Rex. I definitely feel that he's gonna die at some point in this series, possibly the season. And I actually think that's gonna be the reason that Rex stops.
Ooh.
I think he's gone through a whole war, and he's gone through now post-war with his identity. Going, we need to keep fighting. We need to get them. He's doing an amazing job so far, but I think you'll get to a point where they're in some sort of a battle or fight, and Echo gets killed, and it's going to be a very emotional moment. And we saw Rex in season 7 being already very sentimental about what the war has been already. Of he's looking at that little photo, of all him and his brothers, and Echo's in that, and he's getting so sentimental and emotional about it. I think Echo dying will be like the last kind of thing. And he will literally just check out and be like, I actually can't fight this. This is so massive. This is so big. I've been fighting all my life. I've lost my only brother left, kind of, and go into his reclusive state that we see him in Rebels. That's my call for actually how Rex gets to be where he is in Rebels.
I think that lines up perfectly with what, if you go back and watch the Bad Batch arc, the whole idea of Rex is the one true believer in Echo's still alive. We have to go save him. And guess who's not on board with that? The Bad Batch. They're all making fun of him, saying, you're crazy. We shouldn't be doing this. And they come around, and I think they're all in good terms now, but Rex has a special connection with the final member of the Domino Squad, especially after losing Fives. So I think the whole idea that a death of someone, I think Rex obviously has attachment to all the clones, but Echo's someone special.
Yeah.
God, I don't want to watch Echo die again. It's traumatic enough in 2011. Do we have to do this again? Or 2012 or whenever that was.
But see, that's why I don't think he's gonna die. I think once a character survives death a few times, like Ahsoka, that means they're never gonna die.
Yeah, he's gonna live forever.
It's like if you would have killed him off the first time, if you wanted him dead.
Yeah.
Bringing him back, he's gonna be around. He's gonna be in the sequel to the sequels. He's gonna be episode 10. Like he's gonna be this old cyborg dude.
Well,
like 100 years old.
Since we're dropping theories, here's my theory for the end game of the Bad Batch. There was supposed to be an arc in the later seasons of the Clone Wars that never got made, where the clones decided that they wanted to end the war, and so they were going to go kidnap Count Dooku, and it was the Rex and R2 arc that was going to happen, and it was going to have a whole like Top Gun vibe to it and everything. I think that's going to happen, but with the clones wanting to kill Palpatine.
Ooh, I mean, that makes sense. This sets it up very well, because they're like, he's always one step ahead. We have to go at the head.
Yeah, this sets it up. And, Echo, we always before we associated Echo with the Bad Batch or with Rex, we associated him with Fives. And Fives was the first guy to figure it all out. Fives figured it all out. And if anybody can gather what Fives was saying, I think it would be Echo. And I think the clones will attempt to assassinate the Emperor, and things will go horribly, horribly wrong for them. And that's what will force the survivors into their kind of quasi-retirement of, we can't fight this, not now. So we'll stick around and we'll support whatever comes next. But we can't, it's not going to be us that takes them down. So there's my end game theory for you. Season 3 or beyond.
That makes sense.
I mean, there's beef there. I mean, like I was saying earlier, like they now know, or I think maybe this is, especially from Omega's point of view, I like the idea that she's mad at Rampart. This is the guy that destroyed Camino. This is her learning specifically that it wasn't Rampart. It was Palpatine. It was Palpatine all along. He's the true enemy here. And that's kind of the galaxy needs to learn. But Omega has definitely learned that in this episode. And I think the clones need to learn that. And then clones need to learn, as Fives does, that it's him. He's the one that's been doing this all along. He's the one that put the chip in our heads and made us do these horrible things and ruined everything for us. And he's trying to screw us over by not giving us a pension. Like, this is the last straw. Something's got to give. I really like that. But also, now we haven't brought it up yet. I'm going to bring it up now. There is this whole thing with the sniper clone and the fact that he says he's a believer. I think this episode not only establishes that the clones are kind of on a collision course. They have to rise up. They are probably not going to get what they want. Not only are they not going to get what they deserve in regards to a proper discharge and pension, they're also not going to get to fight and be troopers anymore. So that's really going to piss them off. But also, not all clones are on the same page. And this establishes that there's more, that Crosshair isn't the only one out there who is on board with the Empire.
Yeah. I mean, this episode feels like it's picking up from the season 1 finale in the most significant ways that we've seen yet. I love most of what we've seen this season thus far. but a lot of that could have been season 1 episodes. This feels like this is a direct, the events of this episode are a direct result of what we saw in the season 1 finale, including this dude, this clone, this true believer clone, because one of the last scene we see in Bad Batch season 1 is the surviving Kaminoan being taken to Mount Tantus, some kind of Imperial lab to work on stuff. And we all sit there as Star Wars fans with the theorizing hats on, going, it has something to do with the Mandalorian. It has something to do with Snoke. It has something to do with the Rise of Skywalker and how Palpatine returned. But it could be this too. It could be, this is a new type of clone. There's no identification. There's no tracing him. He's some kind of prototype with the skills of Crosshair, but without any of the morals of the Bad Batch. And, he bites the, electronics cyanide pill, right? Which we saw in Mando season 2. Some Imperials do. So he is a true believer in this. It feels like there's new threats out there that have to do with, clones, perhaps not just fighting stormtroopers, not just fighting Palpatine, not just fighting mercenaries, fighting each other. And we may yet get that Battlefront 2 2005 level, just not on Kamino, just somewhere else. What else? Where else do we want to go with this? What else do you guys want to bring up about this episode? Because we've talked a lot, and I feel like we've covered a good amount of ground, but I still feel like there's more. So what do we want to prioritize here?
You know what? This is a priority. How gallantly the Pantoran guards fought.
Yes.
Those guys, I thought
Badass.
maybe that was gonna be a story like they overhear one of the clones talking, and then the guard turns on Chuchi or something. But they weren't. They were all in for making sure she survives. They were so.
Yeah, you talk about your true believers. Those
right.
Pantoran guards.
They would happily lay down their lives to keep Chuchi safe, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
I loved Tech continuing his speed racer abilities and skills in this episode, launching the pod out of there, and Wrecker still afraid of heights. Poor bugger, poor guy.
This is him better.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's nowhere else to go, I think it's time. It's time for everybody's favorite segment. You know it. You love it. It's once again time for Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. All right, Ben, what you got? I feel like there's a lot this week.
Did you guys catch anything? Can you help me out? I really didn't take any notes because I didn't really see anything.
There were these characters: Ryo Chuchi, Halle Bertoni, Bail Organa.
Did you notice that this episode featured an obscure Star Wars planet only mentioned in the scripts of the original film?
It's really bad, guys. It's real bad because I have too many notes. I think I need to save some for later when I don't take notes for another episode because I got too much.
We'll just do more for these ones. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the most notes ever. I actually, for one, this episode, and also the fact is, I actually sat down and watched the episode and took notes. I never do that. Okay, it's usually just me shooting from the hip.
Ben, this is the second time in 3 weeks you've said, I've never taken notes while watching an episode. I'm starting to think you have to accept that you take notes during episodes.
This is me changing my lifestyle, okay? My viewing pattern, okay?
You're
learning.
welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Venators over Coruscant, just that beautiful shot of there's several beautiful Coruscant shots. All the Coruscant shots are beautiful. I just love the fact that they're called Venators now. They used to call them Jedi cruisers, and that's not really appropriate anymore. Can't really call them
true.
But I love that like Venators used to be like an obscure thing. Like, oh yeah, I know the name of that ship. It's called a Venator. Nobody knows that. Like, nah, it's just a thing in Star Wars now. It's cool. We got the clone bar. Obviously last appeared in season 6 of Clone Wars, which is pretty cool. The server in the clone bar is an AD series droid. Same model as AD-8 from Return of the Jedi and also in the Book of Boba Fett. Pretty cool. I guess they can torture droids and they can serve drinks. Multifaceted. Very useful droids. The first clone, the clone that does his thing, this very stupidly, that he's like, I sent a message to Rampart so he can tell the truth. The clone's name is Cade. Cade. Is his last name Skywalker? I'm just curious.
I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, nice legacy shout out. I
was like, did I hear that right? It's like Cade. Okay, that's pretty cool. I like that we're getting more bearded clones. We didn't get a lot of that in Clone Wars. We got like Gregor, like once had a beard and then he shaved it off 5 minutes later. No, we got various diversity in facial hair, which is really cool. This has been showing up for several episodes, probably season 1, 2, but the Star Tour speeder, like the bus thing that was all over Rebels, like that's in this a lot. You see it through the skyline and all over Coruscant. Ghana Riduli, the senator from, I believe, maybe the banking clan or one of those, is an Ishi Tib. We've seen this before. Not apparently not the same senator, because there's a senator in the Clone Wars. It's also an Ishi Tib. That shows up. Looks about like him, but it's not him. Different character. Interesting. Speaking of,
your connection is it's not that guy, so it's sort of an anti-connection.
Yeah. Look, I point out the connections and also not the connections. Okay. So we got a lot of not only returning characters from the Clone Wars, but also returning voice actors. Pretty much everyone in these episodes that's a returning character from the Clone Wars is voiced by the actor that originally voiced them. We got Phil Lamar back as Bail Organa. We got Steven Stanton back as Masa Maeda. We got Jennifer Hale, the legendary Jennifer Hale, back as Ryo Chuchi. Sharon Duncan Brewster. This one blew my mind.
Is she Australian?
Back as Tinra Pamlo from Rogue One. That senator from Rogue One.
Wow.
Oh, her.
Are you kidding me? You just now figured that out.
I was wondering. I was like, she seems familiar, but why?
She's wearing the same clothes.
She's from London.
London, okay. Sharon.
But she also blew my mind because she's in a bunch of stuff. Apparently, the same actress is in Dune and a bunch of other movies. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing the same thing I did like yesterday. I'm like, wait, that was her? What?
She's just in everything.
So I hope she comes to Celebration London. I feel like she'd be a great addition.
She would be amazing.
Just has to walk down the street.
Yeah.
Great. And of course we got Halle Bertoni, once again voiced by Jamila McMillan. The last time that Halle Bertoni was on our TV screens was in the episode Senate Murders, which aired in the US on March 19th, 2010. Let me remind you, March 19th, 2010, the Star Wars underworld had yet to exist.
Oh.
That's how long ago that was.
I was 10 years old. I was Omega's age.
Well, you know, Ben, when Han Solo first appeared on screen in 1977, the Star Wars underworld didn't exist back then either. So there are lots of characters that predate the Star Wars underworld. I'm just saying.
Oh my god!
I just can't believe that I fake said that Tandiva would be in these episodes, and we got that close.
This close. I feel like Krennic.
We were one more degree of connection there.
Yeah,
we were on the verge of greatness. So close.
Crikey.
Oh God, don't go back to that. Please don't. We're losing all the Australian listeners. We might lose the Australian host if you keep that up.
It wasn't intentional. I was trying to do Mendelssohn's British accent. It
got
just came
really
out as
Australian.
Australian.
Jeez, dude.
The senator from the Commerce Guild, which is listed in the credits as Commerce Guild Senator, doesn't
My
have a
favorite
name,
character.
unfortunately.
That's
is a
Shumei,
is
right?
it's the same species as Xiaomei.
But it's not Shumei.
It's a Gossam. I don't know. Dan Gravis would probably know the correct pronunciation. He's the separatist expert. I'll have to ask him.
Awesome.
To the left of a Rampart in the background, you see a Zygerian. There's Zygerians in the Senate.
Nice.
So are like slaver. What does it mean for like the Imperial Senate that slavers have like representation in the Imperial Senate? I don't know. That's really weird.
They're getting some, Wookiees from the Trandoshans, sounds like.
Right. And I like the fact that like we're getting like the separatists senators are back in the Imperial Senate, just like they're all having to work together again. That's kind of interesting to note. The horn when Slip is slipping around in the underworld, sneaking around, slipping around. That he passes by a speeder. The same horn from the speeder is in Attack of the Clones. When the goes what the and.
This is another one. This is another one you're making up, like the thing last week with the holiday.
That's right.
This is all verifiable.
One of these
data.
facts was
all
a lie.
Verifiable data. No makeup. I'm done trolling. I'm done trolling.
12 facts and a lie.
I just have one other note here. I have a question for you guys. So, what the heck happened to all the Kaminoans?
They're dead.
Because Tapoka City was deserted. Like they evacuated the entire city. What did they do to them?
But they blew up all the other cities.
But that one was deserted. I thought all of them doesn't make.
No, I guess they went to other cities.
I did have that
question.
Not
the only one.
I thought my thought seeing the season 1 finale was I thought they took them all to Mount Tantus. That's what I thought.
Interesting.
The clone, the Kevin. Oh
so
no,
I think when Chuchi is questioning Rampart about, hey, the entire population of Camino was, killed, I think she's questioning that too. I think something happened to them that they didn't die. They took them somewhere. That's my thought anyway.
What do you call a group of Kaminoans? Kaminoans, actually, now I say that.
Yeah, I was going to say. Or you just channel Dex and you say, cloners.
Cloners. Actually, yes. Actually, that should be a joke. What do you call a group of Kaminoans? Cloners.
So the droid assisting Captain Antilles is R2C4.
Yes.
Yes. Does he blow up on him? I don't know. But apparently there is 2 other droids that are the exact same designation number on Wikipedia.
No.
So that's interesting.
The popular one.
Interesting.
And I also
an explosive silly putty.
I was gonna say, I said that there was a missed opportunity at the beginning of the episode with not having somebody say the whole planet is one big city. Second missed opportunity in this episode. Only 2. That droid should have been R2D2.
Yeah, why
see,
not?
I disagree.
It should have been. No, it would have been so cool when Chuchi's just like walking down the street like da 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 da, and the droid comes up to her and is like, burr, 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 burr. If it was R2, because we all would have gone, oh, there he is. It would have been a good cameo.
I think they learned
R2 was given to Captain Antilles. He does not belong to Bail Organa. He wouldn't be hanging out with him. Doesn't make sense. Egregious cameo.
Didn't Antilles fly Organa to Coruscant?
Yeah, there's a reason. You can come up with a reason.
Yeah, but he's got the Tainted 3 and the Tainted 5.
I just still don't understand why you have Captain Antilles and then you have Bail Organa, but then you have Bail Antilles, who's another character who's only mentioned and you don't see.
And then Wedge Antilles.
He's in a deleted scene in the Phantom Menace.
That's
There's
right.
Bail Antilles.
He's the one that has also been nominated to be Chancellor, who should have been Chancellor, who'd have stopped all of this if he was Chancellor. I voted for him.
Yeah.
I don't know why y'all didn't vote for him. Because Palpatine won.
I for one embrace our Sith Lord, our new Sith Overlord. I voted for Kronos.
Every planet got a vote, including Hoth, and that is how Palpatine won.
That's how he won.
The Wampers.
The Wampa voted for
trying to fit
Palpatine
into the polling booth.
and offset
trying to
all
write
of
down.
the trillion Corellians and Corellia
Yep.
who voted for
Oh.
Balin Tillies.
Back to the droid though.
yes.
The R2C4. The other one I found, because I noticed this too, Ben. I was like, we know this droid, and it's the exact same coloring that is the R2C4 that is Kaz's droid in Resistance. And I'm like, is it really a different droid? It's like the same numbering and it's the same coloring. So in my headcanon, it's the same droid that somehow Kaz ended up with Bail Antilles droid.
No, it's actually R2 in disguise. They just repainted him like Chopper.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, I'm not finished. Okay, just getting good started. So there is carbon freezing sound effects all over that warehouse. When they go in, you can listen. I think anybody that's watched The Empire Strikes Back 500 times, like we have, probably should catch that. Excuse me. I just like the fact that Chuchi immediately like recognizes Rex, even though like he's a clone and they haven't met, and the last time they met he didn't take his helmet off.
That's a good point.
But she's besties with Ahsoka, so you know they all hung out together. They all went to the clone bar one night.
But it just shows how good of a person she sees them as individuals. They don't. They're
excellent. Yes,
that's why she's such a good person. There you go. So the Martez sisters' garage makes a cameo.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, is that the garage? Yes, it is. I love friends of mine own this place. I'm like, I know those friends. I know what you're referencing. Good old Rex, really good. And we did talked about it earlier, but the tooth, this, I don't even know what you call it, but the electric tooth that kills you, which is from the episode of The Mandalorian Heiress. Pretty cool. And I couldn't help but like draw a connection between him saying he's a believer when we have an episode of The Mandalorian called The Believer, which is about Imperials, and
both feature important moments where characters take off their helmets and we see their face, and now we're a believer.
Yes, there you go. Okay, that was first
Monkey
episode.
Lizards. That's a great band.
Was that it? Was that it?
That was the first episode. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right, let's go on to the second episode.
Ben, you have 2 minutes, and then I'm playing you off.
Okay, all right. We have the return of Gonki.
Yes.
Finally.
Yes, he's alive.
We have some very suspiciously similar looking droids to the KX droids in this episode, flying the speeders. The bodies look very much like K2SO. So that's what was really cool. The V-Wings still have the Republic cog symbol on their wings, not the Imperial thing, which was interesting. I love that when they're in the, I want to say Jedi Cruiser, but the Venator, they're running through the escape pods. Once the Venator crashes and it's on a tilt, every shot within the Venator is at an angle. The camera is tilted from then on until they get to the escape pod and escape.
Just like Star Trek.
There you go. So really cool. The siren that you hear in the background, actually throughout that sequence, is a siren that it's heard all over like First Order stuff in sequel trilogy. It's got this low wow. It's different from the. Like, I'm not going to imitate it, okay? Because I'll sound like an idiot.
It's not the wow.
No, it's a different one. There's like 3 different sirens.
You sounded like an otter in trouble.
That's my general state of being, as an otter in trouble. So I just vocalized it.
And to wrap this baby up, we got Biths and Twi'lek senators and Gotal senators in the background of things. And there's a Gazanti in the background.
That's my Godel impression. I want to see me as a Godel.
There you go.
Hey, you're not allowed back here.
Object.
All right. What a show. What a show. It's been another edition of Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. As long as we're making connections to things that didn't happen, I was disappointed that the Silver Angel, the best named ship in all of Star Wars, did not make any appearance in this episode.
I wanted the Sundred Hart to appear.
just
don't
because.
mention that meme in my presence.
Just because. All right, let's run through a couple of super chats real quick from Joel. We've got, my only criticism is that it's a little concerning that the best episode of The Bad Batch have nothing to do or little to do with The Bad Batch themselves. Hard disagree. One, I don't think that. And two, you need that first episode to set up the second episode, which is very much a Bad Batch episode.
The reason that it's basically one big episode. It's basically one big episode. It's not. It's
but regardless
at
of
the same time
that,
for a reason.
Regardless of that, this show is called The Dark Times. I don't know why it says Bad Batch everywhere, but that's the name of the show, Dark Times. It's an anthology about the Dark Times.
As we talked about 2 weeks ago, the best episode of all time is the treasure hunting episode, which is very much a Bad Batch focused story. Next up, Joel says, my tinfoil hat theory is that the prototype clone is leading to the Death Troopers from Rogue One. That'd be pretty sweet.
I'm wondering who's going to be the Death Troopers, like Crosshair, or we keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And finally, Bail Antilles was meant to be Bail Organa, but then got retconned into another character. But why?
The prequels has so many odd character retconning moments, like Stasili and Adigalia being basically the same person, but not.
Also, did George forget what Princess Leia's last name is? What did he think? Yeah, I created Leia Antilles, and that's why her father is going to be Bail Antilles. And then someone was like, Rick McCallum was like, George, her last name is Organa. He's like, oh, crap. Cut that scene. We need a new character. Call the guy from NYPD Blue. Get him in here.
Odd stuff in there.
Yeah.
Odd stuff in the prequels.
All right. Let's conclude the discussion of these Bad Batch episodes by going around the table, giving some final thoughts and scores out of 10. Chris, start us off. Final thoughts and scores out of 10.
I didn't think I was about to go first. I was literally about to mute.
Yeah,
Nope,
it looks so
you're up.
frazzled. Oh my gosh.
Keep me on your toes.
Sit down for this one, Chris.
I have I don't have shoes on, but I also don't have a WikiFeet entry, and I don't want one. Anyway.
What is going on?
What is that in the notes somewhere or something? Something about why is Chris
I'm not gonna repeat it.
Why is that?
Just move on.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
He's gonna go for
Okay, final thoughts.
Score out of 10.
I need to do some Gunji meditating.
Yeah.
Deep breaths.
What the hell did you just say about Wikipedia? What did you mention about Wikipedia?
Don't ask.
You have to rewind later.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll edit that out later.
Yeah,
right?
I'm making a mental note of the time here.
Oh my god.
Keep it going.
You know what? Everybody needs a minute here, so let's just Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Star Wars rules. This is momentous. This is exciting. Why, hello there, Ben.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Mr. Ben Hart.
How's it going, everybody?
All right, that needs to be updated with more pictures, with more recent pictures.
I also don't like the implication that anything goes wrong. You have to put a bunch of pictures of me like it's my fault, even when it's not my fault. Somehow I'm the default.
Yeah.
Whipping post for all these stuff.
All right, let's try this again. Let's go around the table one more time. Give some final thoughts and scores out of 10. Chris, start us off. Final thoughts, score out of 10 for the clone conspiracy and truth and consequences.
I really think that these episodes were like showed what this series is capable of, and was like the.
What is happening?
I was going well, and then Hannah started making those faces. I'm like, come on.
Okay, now I'm confused.
I'm so
lost. That is not my fault.
Sorry, I just started thinking about it again.
Try again.
Know what happened.
Take 4.
Oh.
Maybe just somebody else should go.
Yeah,
Ben. We're committed to this. No, I'm not getting out of this one.
Oh.
Yeah. Have a drink. That'll clear it up.
Yeah.
Final thoughts and score out of 10, Chris.
Wow.
All right.
I feel like someone give you that like laughing gas thing that just.
But Ben's got to speak, man. He's the only one not cracking.
Okay, I'll go.
All right,
go.
Give me a second. Let me set it up again. All right. Let's go around the table one last time. Give some final thoughts and scores out of 10. Ben, start us off. Final thoughts for the clone conspiracy and truth and consequences.
I thought this was a 0 out of 10 from me, guys.
Oh man.
No. Yeah, I had to call it back. No, I think this is some of the best. I think this is like peak Star Wars animation. Truly, like this is some of the best Star Wars we've gotten ever, and I think definitely a peak for the Bad Batch. And just all around, just an amazing set of episodes. Obviously, visuals, music, acting, writing, everything is incredible. But just the fact that we're getting this story told is incredible. I think I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the season way more now. Because like I said, I was kind of like scratching my head going like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? No, we know. And I really appreciate that this story is being told, that this is a clone-centric story. I think the Bad Batch, again, is kind of cementing itself and saying this is what the show wants to say. This is a truly post-Clone Wars series. This is a sequel to the Clone Wars. This is the show we've really all wanted. Because way back when the Clone Wars was airing, I was like, what would be cool if there was a show set after the Clone Wars that talks about, what happened to the clones and how the Republic came to the Empire. This is what we're getting, guys. We're here 10 years later. This is it. We're watching the show, and I'm so happy. And I'm glad that it's actually very good and very emotional because, yes, I can't watch that Echo scene at the end without getting a little teary-eyed, if I'm being honest. Especially with Michelle Ang's Omega, just those line deliveries is just heartbreaking. So I literally could talk about this all night. I could just ramble on about how much I love these episodes. So I'm not going to do that because I think it'll be boring. I will give these 2 episodes together, a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 from Ben. Hannah, what about you? Final thoughts and scores out of 10 for these 2 episodes.
Yeah, these were just the best Star Wars I've seen in such a long time. We've gotten great Star Wars, but this has been my favorite Star Wars I've seen in a long time. I think, it showed the in-universe politics that go on and how twisted and difficult and complicated they are, how evil and manipulative Palpatine is, and show us the plight of our favorite characters of Rex, the Bad Batch, the clones in general, and how connected we are. I am continually amazed by how emotionally invested I am into the stories of the clones. But I really am, and as a massive Clone Wars fan, just so thrilled with all the little Easter eggs of things we got. Obviously, Chuchi coming in again. Even as much as we joke about it, I love how we got Halle Bertoni. Like, just such a fantastic Clone Wars character to have here. Really can't hold it. Yet musically, I feel like we haven't even talked about much of the music, but this music in these episodes were just off the charts for me. They were just incredibly persuasive and emotional and impactful. It was just incredible stuff by the Kana brothers again. But both getting a 10 out of 10 from me. Really love these episodes.
10 out of 10 from Hannah. Chris, over to you. Final thoughts and score out of 10 for these two eps.
Yeah, this is really the best that this show is at. Is these episodes. Like, it's reaching, its full potential, at least so far. I still think they can improve, but it's like it's not a point of obvious improvement. It's not like, okay, there are these things that are wrong and then they can fix it. It's more like, okay, this is as awesome as I can imagine it being, but I'm sure they can top it. That's kind of my opinion of it. And so I think, yeah, I think what they did is they really maximized their capabilities with Disney Plus big time. Like, the times, like the run times of these episodes were pretty random. I think they were a little bit longer than a lot of the other Bad Batch episodes by like a few minutes. And then they also showed us these two episodes the same week, which I think helped a lot because it gave us a really full, complete story. I think it would have been interesting to review these episodes as, 1 week and then another week. I think it might have been a little bit more difficult to discuss. So I think the quality definitely came through because we saw them at the same time. So yeah, just the fact that they were able to do what they wanted with the runtime, not have to worry about it being on TV and cramming it into 22 minutes, and then having back-to-back episodes drop the same night to watch it almost like it's one long, kind of almost hour-long episode. It really, I think it really felt good. I do wish that, for me, I understand that the Bad Batch brings a lot to the table for people with different tastes and such. But I mean, this is what I like. This is the type of storytelling that I like. These are the types of episodes that I like from Star Wars. So I'm really glad that we're getting them, and I hope that we get much more like this out of the Bad Batch and out of other shows. The whole time I just found myself just really immersed in the story and just really, really hoping that they would be successful. But it was brilliantly done how there was the twist at the end where they were successful but not successful. And that makes sense because, again, you can only have too much success, or you can only have so much success until A New Hope, when things really start turning around for the rebellion and the fight against the Empire. So brilliant episodes. Also 10 out of 10 from me.
10 out of 10 across the board so far. I love these episodes, obviously, as we've talked about. Terrific political thriller. We spent a lot of time calling Andor a political thriller, but this episode really was a political thriller. This was House of Cards. This was The West Wing. This was, senators getting stuff done at the same time as clone troopers going on into a little action adventure. It was terrific to get all those characters back, including Halle Bertoni. Absolutely. And I loved just seeing the Bad Batch interacting with a different part of the galaxy than we're used to. We usually see them out in the underworld. So it was nice to see them in kind of the heart of the galaxy, which was really, really fun. And just a nice design choice. Loved Omega's poncho. Thought that was really cool. I think she should wear that more often. And the not tragic, but the sort of sad ending of Echo leaving. I think we all knew it was coming at some point, and eventually we've gotten there, and it was beautifully executed. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for Echo and Rex and that part of the story as well. So I always like to be the one to break the the across the board scores because everybody's given it a 10 out of 10 so far. And so there's a part of me that wants to just give it a 9.5.
Go the other way.
Just to be annoying, just to be different. And I will say, like, just as for me personally, I do like the Crosshair episode better. I think that to me is still it's sort of like that one's number one, and then these two are number two with a bullet. Like it's not like there's a big gap between the two, but just I thought the Crosshair episode did so much interesting stuff visually as well as narrative wise that it still tops for me. But I really can't fault it. So if anything, I'd like to go back and up my score for the Crosshair episode to 10.5, and I'll give these ones a 10, and we'll go across the board 10 out of 10 from all of us. A perfect episode, I dare say, at least according to the hosts here. In the chat, we've got Matthew Hardy giving them both 9 out of 10. Chosen Nightwolf joins us in the assessment that this is a perfect or near perfect episode with a 10 out of 10. Chillin' in the Basement also agrees 10 out of 10. So does Brooke with 10 out of 10. So does Din F105, 10 out of 10. Joel, wanting to be different, gives it a 9.8 out of 10.
Is that 0.2 because the Bad Batch aren't in the first episode?
And Francisco gives it a -5 out of 10. Actually, he hasn't seen the episode. Is just messing with us.
Come on.
Joining up with Ben.
Francisco, I'm the troll here, okay? You trying to take away my job? Come on, man.
All right, let's run through some news real quick. Start this off. We've got a new Star Wars TV show coming out on May 4th, and it's not just Star Wars Visions. We've also got the premiere of Young Jedi Adventures, the new sort of younger kid-targeted series. This is probably for your preschoolers. It's coming to Disney Plus and Disney Junior on May 4th, set in the High Republic era and following a group of Jedi younglings as they study the ways of the Force, explore the galaxy, help citizens and creatures in need, and learn valuable lessons to become Jedi along the way. That's what StarWars.com says. They confirmed the cast as well. We've got Jamal Avery Jr. as Kai Brightstar, Juliet Donafield as Lise Soleil, D. Bradley Baker as Nubs, Emma Berman as Nash Durango, and Jonathan Lipow as RJ83, and Piotr Michael as Master Yoda.
Where's Gunji? Isn't Gunji supposed to be the lead character of the Young Jedi?
Yeah, but this is Young Jedi Adventures. This is High Republic era. This is before Gunji's ever born. But we got some should be fun. Should be fun for the little kids. And I at D23 last year, I got to meet a couple of the kids who are the stars of this thing. And Jamal and Emma, and they were both so excited to be part of this, and I think they're both going to do great in this show, and I think this will be a lot of fun for the young ones out there. And if you are not 3 years old or don't have a child that's 3 years old and you don't want to watch a show for 3-year-olds, don't watch it and don't make YouTube videos.
Yeah, I really
about
hope.
it.
Oh man,
I really hope people don't hate on this show.
I already saw. I try and avoid looking at these things these days, but I saw. You know how Facebook shows you comments sometimes. I saw one on the Star Wars posts about it, and somebody was complaining. Oh, look at them making something for preschoolers. I'm like, shut up.
It's so sad when you go on YouTube, specifically anything that's related to kids content, and the comments are turned off. And it's just like, yeah, we know why. We know what the comments would actually be if people.
It'd be a bunch of people. It'd be a bunch of people posting Gina Carano quotes.
Oh my god.
Sure. All right.
You're not wrong.
All right. This next story is not so much for me, but I know there's other people who it matters a whole heck of a lot to. 9 minutes of Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay was revealed this week, and we also learned in an interview with Stig Asmussen, the director of the game, that you'll be able to travel fast and have rideable creatures to get from point A to point B faster. Stig said, we will feature both fast travel and rideable characters to help characters quickly get from point A to point B and back to point A. The fast travel is point to point, and the rideable creatures offer a way to quickly negotiate between points and explore what is in between. People who play video games on this podcast, what did we think of the gameplay if we watched it? And what do we think of rideable characters?
I sadly have not watched this gameplay yet. I know that it's out. I've been meaning to watch it. I've been busy and also distracted. I've not watched it, and I will probably have seen it by next week.
Okay.
So I'll maybe mention it next week.
If you remember.
I hope so.
Hannah, did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched about a minute of it, and then I remembered that I didn't want to watch it because I want to be amazed when I play the game for the first time. So I was like,
Fair
oh
enough.
wait, I don't want to watch this because I want to fully experience it when I get the game. So I didn't continue to watch it, but I saw a little bit of it and saw clips here and there, and it looks very smooth, looks good, looks improvement from last game. So good
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Nice. Ben,
Yeah,
did you watch it?
I watched a little bit of it too. I saw the part where he's walking up on there's a big Lucre Hulk in the background. He's talking about last time I saw Lucre Hulk, it was blah, blah, blah. It looks really cool. He's fighting droids and stuff like that. Like, it's really cool. It's visually and gameplay wise looks a lot different than the first game. Obviously, there was a lot of fighting stormtroopers and beasts, stuff like that. It feels different. It feels like they're trying to mix it up and not make it feel like the first game, which is cool.
Nice. And Jedi Survivor, I nearly called it Fallen Order. Jedi Survivor comes out what? April? I've forgotten the release date again.
April 25th.
Let's go with that.
April 25. Yeah.
Let's go with that. Okay. Paper cannon news now. We've got a new book. E.K. Johnston has written a new Star Wars novel called Crimson Climb, all about Kira, set between the prologue and the main events of Solo, a Star Wars story. Hannah, it sounds like you have something you want to say about this.
They've done this. They've written this and put this book out because they're gonna at Celebration here. They're gonna announce Book of Boba Fett season 2, and she's gonna be the main antagonist. That's my call.
That would be freaking awesome.
It would be great. It would be
so
great.
Everyone's like, oh, Kira, that's right.
How
So
did
this is gonna
she
be a
get your dice, Dominic?
Yeah, I
How
know.
did that happen?
She stole it right out from under me. Oh well.
I feel like I could pull off a Kira cosplay. Actually, now think about it. How do I do that face?
I think so. Yeah. You're looking cool.
Wow.
Looking tough. We got the official synopsis for the book here. It says this. Kira listened to the dreams and promises of a boy with a reckless smile, only to be torn away from him and returned to the White Worm gang while Han made his way to freedom. Now freedom seems like a luxury she can't afford while she concentrates on survival and despairs of ever leaving Corellia. But her fortune seemed to turn around when a representative of the crime syndicate, Crimson Dawn, plucks Kira from captivity and brings her to the syndicate's leader, the mysterious and mercurial Dryden Voss. Voss offers Kira an opportunity she's never had before, the chance to build something resembling a comfortable life if she can prove her worth to his organization. With failure meaning certain death, Kira knows that she must immerse herself in the merciless, murderous world of Crimson Dawn.
Oof.
What she doesn't know is just who she will be if she survives.
Why is that copywriter a slam poet?
Yeah, right. It does sound
the merciless.
sounds a bit like the opposite of wanting to risk it all for something real. I don't know when this book is coming out. I don't know what the release date is. Whenever we get a book or a comic with Kira in it, I get sad because it probably means she's not going to be back on screen anytime soon.
Here, I have a rebuttal to that, though. I think the fact that this is set within the timeline of Solo, and not afterwards, because when I saw this, I'm like, this is the story after Solo. They're finally telling that story, but they're not. They're not.
They're probably setting up for it, though. The sequel to this book could be that, and it comes out on October 10th.
October 10th, yeah. And there's all the comics and stuff that Charles Soule is writing that are set during the original trilogy with her. Like, I loved the Book of Boba Fett theory, and I desperately would love that for season 2, but it ain't happening.
But oh yeah, I'm sure. Like if someone comes along and is like, oh yeah, I want to make Solo 2. Martin Scorsese just comes out and says, yeah, I want to make Solo 2. Solo: A Star Wars Story 2. You think they're gonna worry about the comics? Come on.
I don't, but
the 10th and final Quentin Tarantino movie is Solo 2.
Solo 2. This time it's Crimson.
Very crimson.
Joel dropping one more super chat that it basically him and I are on the same page, pun intended, about this. He says this book confirms to me that there's even less of a chance of her appearing in screen canon now, because if someone is prominent on paper, they just won't be on screen, just like Aura Singh was.
How dare you?
Joel's a heartbreaker tonight.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Star Wars Celebration, we may possibly, you never know. Hannah's conspiracy theory may yet come true of Kira being confirmed for the Book of Boba Fett season 2. But we definitely do know that these people will all be at Star Wars Celebration London 2023. We got Billy D. Williams, Rosario Dawson, Gwendolyn Christie, Ming-Na Wen, Jonas Swatomo, Matt Wood, Silas Carson, Aiden Cook, he of Two Tubes fame, Michael Carter, Sean Crawford, Yakface. He's going to sign for free at Celebration. Nice. Tim Dry, Femi Taylor, Mike Edmonds, Mike Quinn, Tim Rose, and someone will have to keep away from Ben, Carolyn Blackiston, who played Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi.
What? Who'd you say? What? I blacked out there for a second.
It's going to be a good time at Celebration. How about some Acolyte news? This is kind of cool. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter. We've learned the name or the identity of one of the writers and co-executive producers of The Acolyte, and that's Charmaine DeGrate, who most recently wrote on House of the Dragon. She wrote episode 5, very good episode, and is actually going to be working with one Colin Trevorrow, he of Duel of the Fates fame and nothing else, on a new project. Those two will be working together, and that was what the main story was about, but they dropped in this nugget about The Acolyte. Excellent writer, excellent hire. I think this is another in the long line of things that bode well.
I'm already saying that this is going to be the best Star Wars show in Star Wars history.
Yeah. That's never gone poorly before, has it?
One time we'll be right. If we keep saying it, one of these times it will be true. We've already been wrong a few times.
Yeah. Well, here's a weird story. The Mandalorian is going to be on TV on February 24th. And no, don't mean your television on Disney Plus. I mean on ABC, Freeform, and FX. To hype up the premiere of season 3, they're going to broadcast literally the premiere of season 1, chapter 1, on February 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Wow.
Has this ever happened before? Like, this is
weird. We had an airing of Andor on TV.
Ready. I'm ready, guys.
Chris went and got his antenna.
Yeah.
Like an old school aerial antenna. You should put that on top of your roof. Oh my God.
Yeah, you get your VCR ready. You could tape it on VHS.
I just climbed up to the roof and got this.
Oh my God.
in 30 seconds.
Oh my goodness. Incredible. Yeah, so if you want to rewatch chapter 1 and you have ABC, Freeform, or FX, February 24th, tune in. I guess this is how they're promoting season 3. I don't know. I feel like we're starting to hear about, I don't know. I feel like we're going back to cable. That's where all this is headed. So brace yourselves.
When I found out this was free, it changed my life. Like, why am I paying for all this stuff when I could just go to the dollar store and buy just like antennas and plug it into the TV? I didn't know you could do
Who
that.
needs Disney Plus? They're broadcasting The Mandalorian through the air.
Yeah, you can watch
get Grogu with rabbit ears.
That's
you can
right.
watch one episode from 3 years ago over the air. So if that's all you want, you
That'll do it.
You're all
I'm going to
set.
record it on VHS, and then I can re-splice it up into all the other episodes.
Okay. Great.
I'll
idea.
have to wait till winter because the first episode is on a cold planet. And they know us Australians, we only watch whatever the season is on the TV is here. So we won't get it for months.
Amazing. This is an interesting story. The Mandalorian season 3 is going to have a new composer of the music. Joseph Shirley has taken over scoring for season 3. Apparently, Ludwig Göransson is just too busy these days. So Joseph Shirley did the music for the Book of Boba Fett. And he's moving over to Mando season 3. Obviously, he'll continue to incorporate Göransson's themes and probably some John Williams in there as well. But he's taken over. That's where we're at.
I saw a lot of people online kind of semi lose their minds over this. It's like, I don't think that's a big deal. Right? Like, what's his name? Joseph? Is that his name?
Yeah, Joseph. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the Dave Filoni to George. Like, it's okay. Like, he understands the scoring. Like, Book of Boba Fett was fantastically scored. Like, it's actually got to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, really cool. Of anything you can complain about the show, the music is not one of them. Like, the music was amazing. I think if anyone, if they had told us, oh, Ludwig did the score for Book of Boba Fett, no one would have batted an eye. Like, everyone was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. It sounds like the same as what we got. So I think the same thing will be here. Like, people will, there's gonna be at least 5, if not 100 people on Twitter going like, the music isn't the same. It doesn't sound the same as it did when Ludwig did it. It'll be the same basically.
Yeah, exactly. And final story, also Mando season 3 related. Pedro Pascal, he's out there a lot these days, fighting zombies and hosting late night sketch comedy shows. He made an appearance on the Tonight Show this week, and he was asked about season 3 of The Mandalorians. This is what he said. He said, there will be more Mandalorians, a lot of them, a big epic battle, plural, maybe? So battles. I mean, that's basically...
It'd be really weird if there was no battles. It was just Mando and Grogu just walking around.
I mean, I think people would be fine with that.
This season was really great, but it's weird that there's no fighting. Like, the Mandalorians, they just talked. There's none of them fought each other.
They listened to
he just waved the Darksaber around. He never cut anything with it.
They listened to Satine, and they used their words to settle their differences. They don't have to fight.
They all sat in a circle.
Yeah, like big kids that they are.
Yeah,
and they talked it out. Yeah,
he sees a holo of Satine, and he's like, "I'm a believer now." Yeah,
yeah. He saw her face, and now he's a believer.
Walking monkey lizards.
Yeah, there we go. By the way, did you guys see the sketch Pedro Pascal did on SNL of the gritty remake of Mario Kart?
I saw part of this.
Yes, part of that. Yeah,
I don't think so.
Pedro needs to. Pedro's an incredible dramatic actor. He needs to do some comedy too. This guy's too good. He's too good. He's too talented.
Also, I did see the one where he's the mom to that dude bringing his date home to meet her.
Yeah,
that's again. Pedro's like, how does he do it? Like, the guy's got range.
He's too talented. It's not fair. It's not fair. All right, that's it. That's all we got, and we can begin to wrap things up for this week.
All right, thank you everybody so much for watching, so much for listening. We'll be back same time, same place with another episode next week. That place live is YouTube, and that time is 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, you can follow us at the SWU. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting.
It was my pleasure, as always. Great fun breaking down these two phenomenal episodes of The Bad Batch and then going rapid fire through the news as quickly as we could. But yeah, a great time talking about these episodes. I think this season is moving along at a really interesting clip and a really fun clip. And boy, I'm looking forward to the back half. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be on at the same time as The Mandalorian. So it's just going to be non-stop Star Wars all the time from here on out. It's going to be good. And again, if you want to read 4,400 words, 4,400 words plus about episodes 1 through 6, not even including 7 and 8, just 1 through 6, check out Hot Off the Press, DominicGJones.substack.com. Can't wait to do all this again in 7 days' time.
Yeah, don't go to Dominic Jones. That's Substack. That's somebody else.
That's some other loser.
That's Star Trek. They write Star Trek.
Yeah. Live long and prosper.
Prosper.
Die soon and suffer.
Live long off the press.
There it is.
That's the name of the other one. Don't go there.
It sucks.
At DominicJ25 is where you can follow Dominic on social media as well. Ben, thank you so much for hosting too.
Oh, this was a pleasure as always. Especially enjoyed discussing these very excellent episodes of The Bad Batch. And a little bit of news here at the end. It's great. There's a lot of stuff happening, guys. A lot continuing. We got some great Bad Batch, and on top of that, just some teases at what's to come. The fact that it's a full year. I'm kind of daunted and terrified of how much stuff we are going to be watching and talking about over the next 11 months and beyond. So it's going to be pretty crazy. But I want to give a special shout out really quick and a special little, I don't know how to put this, a happy Star Wars podcast day to everyone. Because that's happening. We have our friends over there who are making this, and apparently this is a momentous thing. I think this is the third year in a row they've been doing this. Basically kind of celebration of all kinds of Star Wars podcasts. And it happens, every time this year. So it's great to see it happening and everyone participating. And yes, we're also celebrating the time. It's great.
Awesome. And you can follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. Hannah, thank you for hosting as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been another great show. Some of my favorite Star Wars. Love some random, obscure Clone Wars characters wherever I can find them. Love them. Another fantastic discussion.
Heck yeah, and of course you can follow Hannah at the Raeside everywhere. I had to remember at that time. You took it off of your screen.
It's not, I don't even know where it's gone.
I'm like, wait a minute. You're quizzing me. You're quizzing me on your handle. I have to remember. It's changed so many times. I don't know how that vanished. At the Raeside, RAE side is where you can follow Hannah on social media, and that's also the name of her YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel here. Punch that subscribe button, Chewy, and also make sure you're subscribed to all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network, including the Raeside Iron Cannon and Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. And make sure that you check out our Discord, because we are having that awesome movie night, maybe later today, depending on when you're listening to this. So get in while you can. Go to the show notes, the description of your podcast episode, or the description of the YouTube video you're watching on, and that's where you'll find the link to join our Discord so you can watch the original 2008 Clone Wars theatrical movie with us on Friday night. Huge thanks to everybody who super chatted with us. Huge thanks to our channel members for supporting us over here. Huge thanks to everybody who is subscribed and reviewing us on your favorite podcast app. We'll be back with another episode next week. But until then, for Ben and Dominic and Hannah and all the other fantastic people we have there at the Star Wars Untitled, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.